Security is a very serious issue in any country, and I believe that there's no amount of money that is too much to spend on security. But that depends on how you define security. If you define security in terms of providing people with fundamental needs of life, food, education, fundamental amenities, so that they will reduce in number those who think like criminals, I believe that the president should spend more money on that. But if security to the president means just spending money to buy more guns, more bombs, more vehicles that will attack either criminals or whoever you call terrorists who are attacking the country, I will call that misplaced priority. And I have my reason for it. Misplaced priority because when you begin to invest money in such capital, equipment, you are simply building the economy of other countries who produce these things. And becomes a game of foolishness. Economic foolishness, for emphasis. If I have to take loan from you, and that loan comes back to our country, and I use the loan to purchase items that only you produce, only you service, only you construct and deconstruct, then it's an invitation to ruin my own economy. That's what Yorubas call akotileta mentality, if you put it that way. So, I am saying that the President of the Republic of Nigeria should not, in any way, reduce security to the issue of purchasing sophisticated equipment to fight terrorists. If that is what he intends to do, then it will be a disaster to our country if such amount of money is taken for that purpose. But if he wants to look at security from the holistic viewpoint, to take money to develop people, to reduce the number of people who will take 50,000 naira to bomb himself and bomb others, by providing them jobs, by giving them amenities, by giving them orientation and education that will make them true citizens of their own country, I think it will be a step that is, welcome. Well, you see, the Boko Haram scenario is a globally interesting phenomenon. And I think we should be very careful when we are providing solutions to it. Amnesty, globally known, is a way of inviting your enemies to the table, dialogue with them, and then tell them, let's stop this rubbish and coexist as human beings. But before you do it, you have to look at the history, you have to look at the trajectory, and you have to look at the end of the amnesty that they are doing. What does Boko Haram want? As of today, it is quite unclear, very shady, what Boko Haram really wants in Nigeria. Matter of fact, the more you think you understand Boko Haram, the more you discover you don't understand Boko Haram. In terms of demands, in terms of methodology, in terms of aspiration, in terms of even their worldview, even religious, spiritual ideology. So when you are dealing with a group of people like that, amnesty is not a solution. So once amnesty is not a solution, you won't even begin to think about getting money to fund such a thing. It will be an exercise in futility. Yeah.
So what would be the way forward for Nigeria, terrorism-wise?
I have been speaking about this, and my position is that the kind of terrorism we're experiencing in Nigeria is different from the kind of terrorism that America experienced, that Britain experienced. In the case of the United States, it was terrorism based on clash of civilization. Outside the state, some people decide to attack another civilization in another state. It's quite easy dealing with that kind of, terrorism. In UK, what they experienced at that time was a semblance of this. In Nigeria, your own citizens within the framework of your state called your country are seriously aggrieved about certain issues, albeit unclear as at now. But the fact is that these people who call themselves Boko Haram members are aggrieved about their country. They have a lot of things to raise against their country, and addressing it should be more systematic than what you had in just the UK and the US model. So, to come back to your question of how, number one, we must try as much as possible to deliberately get to know what Boko Haram wants. And getting to know means having a semblance of dialogue. This dialogue may not come in form of sitting down on the same table. It doesn't have to come in form of amnesty. But I'm saying that until you ask a man how he's thinking, there is no way you can think for him and you say, this is what he wants and this is what he doesn't want. So, if we do not engage in some form of dialogue with Boko Haram, we'll be walking to the question instead of walking to the answer. Because we'll be telling them what we think they want. And in the case of a terrorist who is fighting you, you are dealing with an enemy who is like a debtor in Yoruba proverb. He cannot milk the cow, he can throw away the milk.
So if dialoguing within the context of what is justified does not mean sitting around the same table, would it mean swapping criminals that belong to the terrorist gang for the abducted girls, or dialoguing in the sense of asking the terrorist gang to cease fire and then get their criminals back?
It doesn't also have to mean that. You remember that those who we call criminals who have been arrested for terrorist activities in Nigeria, as of today, only a few of them have been tried by competent court of law and have been found guilty. The majority of them have not. Maybe a way of establishing this dialogue is to try them. Release the suspects. Put them in court, take them to court, let the court come to the public and tell us that based on these and these and these evidences that I have before me, I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt that these people are indeed involved in terrorism. And that we need to punish them in this manner because of this reason, for the purpose of the society. Sometimes you need to let people understand the extent to which they have done something before you tell them the extent of the punishment you want to give them. That to me is a form of dialogue. But if we keep them in prison without trial, without conviction, and then you tell somebody somewhere not to ask about their own people, you are not being realistic. If they ask about them, say release them. The Nigerian state can come back and say, hey, I am not going to release them. Rather, I will try them and publicly display so that everybody in Nigeria will see that this is what happened and this is why we need to do so. Maybe you also need to know that when you talk about Boko Haram does not refer to a group of people. Boko Haram refers to a sentiment that dwells in the minds of some people who are aggrieved about certain things. So, the man you are looking at in the bush of Zambisa forest is just the commander of that ideology. When he talks, some people share his thoughts, his sentiments, his ideologies, and without even telling them to do something, they can do something like Boko Haram will do. So, if you try these people, and you expose them to society, and you convincingly let the nation know that this is why this has to be this and this, you will have succeeded in reducing by 70% potential Boko Haram members that you have hanging all around Nigeria. Who tells you there are no Boko Haram members in Lagos? There are. They're probably only waiting for the opportunity to strike. Okay? Because some of them share the sentiment that that man is talking about. It then becomes a matter of using the state sentiment to counter the sentiment of the man at the other end, so that people will wear their rational cap and see that indeed and in truth, this is what should be and this is what should not be. So it's a form of dialogue. You will see that Boko Haram is using a strategy that the Nigerian intelligence is yet to understand. They tell you, this is our focus. This is what we are against. So that you will divert all your soldiers there, all your policemen there, all your attention there, and say, okay, if this is what they focus on and they want to attack, we'll protect them. By the time you concentrate all your energy on those things that you tell, they go other way and they attack other places. That is strategy that Boko Haram is using. So I'm saying that, unlike the US case, which was clearly a matter of clash of ideology, in Nigeria, it is deeper than that. It's a fundamental contradiction against the Nigerian state itself. The contradiction that Nigerian state is embedded in terms of deprivation, in terms of politics of strategic strategic exclusion, in terms of, oppression, suppression of people. These are things that are making up the movement called Boko Haram. It's not just religion. It's not just civilization. And until the Nigerian state gives it this holistic view, we're not likely to get the answer. George Bush knew that Al-Qaeda was the enemy. Okay? He was straight what Al-Qaeda wanted, and he attacked Al-Qaeda, and today America is smiling, can sleep with its two eyes closed because terrorism is almost ending in the United States. In Nigeria, there are more than just book is evil. There is more than just Western education is evil. Everything to Boko Haram as of today is evil. And that is what you see in what they are doing. Matter of fact, some of the girls that were abducted in Chibok were also Muslims. Boko Haram has killed Christians the way they have killed Muslim clerics. They go to Islamic school and finish everybody who is doing the lekeu there. Is that class of civilization? So they are not using one as a strategy of diversion. The other one is for reality of what they want to do. And that's why I said we need to take a holistic look at the Boko Haram scenario. Action speaks. So I'm saying that if you look at your country, Nigeria, my country, Nigeria, and there are several contradictions that can make an ordinary citizen agree about the state, the answer is yes. What are these contradictions? Poverty, hunger, oppression, suppression, marginalization, and all this. Ordinarily, these things create Boko Haram adherents everywhere. If I'm aggrieved about the state because I'm suppressed, oppressed, and depressed, okay? Any other person who is against the state, who gives me a call to come and bomb you, I will simply get that call and bomb you. So, if Boko Haram exists as an ideology, it also has following somewhere. What is the Nigerian state doing to disconnect the following from the leader? So that in the next 2 or 3 months, the man at the helm of Boko Haram will be isolated because he doesn't have anybody to use to exhibit grievances against the state. That is what I'm talking about. It's high time the Nigerian government began to look at all these things holistically. If you don't, you will continue to perambulate. That's my view.
Koniwala